shamanism. Welcome to With Insights Radio. I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. I will take you on a journey across the universe through shamanism, metaphysical, and holistic. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Welcome to WithinsightsRadio.com. I'm Iggy Garcia. I'm broadcasting live here in Columbus, Ohio. This is episode 83 of Iggy Garcia Live, Self-Healing and Spontaneous Healing. We're going to be talking about healing today. And I'm going to have some guests today. I have one of my guests on the line right now. Heidi House is with me. Hello, Heidi.
Hey.
What's going on?
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. We're expecting Dawn to pop in here soon, so I'm sure she'll call us when it's time. And today's, I guess there's a powerful moon outside. I think she might be looking at it. Come on, Dawn. Come back inside.
Yeah.
And I want to.
What's been Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I want to welcome everybody on the live stream on Facebook. And hopefully you can hear our conversation. Hopefully everything's good. And we're going to be kind of talking a little bit here, so I'm going to bounce between Facebook and Blog Talk Radio. That should be a lot of fun. But how you been, Heidi?
Doing great. I'm doing great. I was really feeling the energy today, for sure. All this week leading up to the eclipse and the full moon, it's just so powerful. You know, they're saying, or I've seen said that this is like the most powerful full moon in 150 years. So I've definitely been feeling that, seeing that, experiencing that myself in my own life and with my clients and my friends, you know, just seeing the shifts and the changes happening. It's very powerful.
Awesome. Well, Dawn, did you come in from watching the moon?
Yes, it's fantastico. Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Large and in charge.
Good. That's what we were just joking about. Said Dawn's probably outside looking at the moon.
Yep. Super spiritual. Doing it. That's what
Absolutely.
I was doing.
Good.
I won't tell you what I was really doing because I think it's spiritual, but other people won't.
You know, when you have to go to the bathroom, you have to go to the bathroom. What do you do, you know?
Now that's spiritual. That can be a full moon release.
There you go.
Oh, you know what release for me today, this is awesome, is every single text message I've ever had, it just disappeared from my phone. I was like, did the freaking full moon do that? I actually need those for addresses and stuff, but the full moon's like, ganked them.
That's funny. Well, I asked Heidi what she's been up to. I kind of want to know what you've been up to.
Well, let me look at my calendar. I don't remember. No, I really don't know. I'm a little like, I guess being in the moment. You know what I mean? Just trying to be in the moment because life is it's so much right now, and it's so intense that I have so many beautiful things coming in. I have like all these workshops and everything's aligned. It's not even work anymore. It's just like play shops and but what I am noticing is like this rearrangement for the ability to like not project or look forward to something. So even at the end of the day, so like and what the training was, it was like this spiritual training in order to not freak out about what's to come or project. And it happened through like, you know, my car's in the shop for the fourth time, or like, you know, trying to get a phone, but it's not working, or those type of things have allowed me, and lots of plans and events have fallen through at such tumultuous rates that I became able to laugh and say, this huge release and turnover of like, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen in the next hour, so I better just be legit in this hour. So it's really neat. It's like I've been practicing mindfulness for 4 years, and it's like the next level of it. It's really cool, actually. It was a little stressful, but it's neat now to see how I look at things differently.
Okay.
How about
the reason
Did you already go? Oh, sorry.
No, I haven't gone yet. If Heidi has gone, you've gone. No, I've gone. But the things that I've been up, I've just been trying to get myself organized, realigned, and having a good time doing it. But just kind of taking things as they come versus trying to make things happen. I mean, so many times we try to make things happen, and they don't always play out in our favor sometimes when we try to make things a certain way.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Okay, you just said it better than me. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, going out with the old, coming in with the new, which, that's basically where I've been.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been pretty good. Now, the reason I asked you both to be on the show tonight was because there's some things I wanted to share with you about a project that I'm putting together and I'm working on, and I was thinking, who could I ask? I mean, there's a lot of people I could ask, but who do I know that is like really kind of in the same alignment of work and the similar type of work that we do? And I thought of both of you, because we both kind of work on the shaman side of things and the intuitive side of things, and so that's why I wanted you both to come on the air with me here today, because I wanted to talk to you because I'm working on a project. It's a documentary about healing. So it's actually about self-healing and spontaneous healing, the parts and the aspects of us, how we heal, and how we get to that place of healing. And I know it's kind of vague and it's kind of, there's a lot of components to it, but I wanted to kind of see and kind of open up the lines, between the three of us and see, what kind of experiences you've had in the past, present, or, maybe the future, about, things that have happened or clients that you've had where we came in ill and then one day they just got up off the table and they could walk again. For example, like you see that a lot in, in churches and stuff where they have revivals and things like that. People just miraculously, are able to do things. But then all of a sudden they go back home and then they can't do the things that they, were doing about 3 or 4 hours ago. So that's kind of the gist of what I've been working on.
Cool.
Awesome.
I could think of a couple. That's a cool, fun topic. I like it.
Good. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would like to do before we continue, because I don't know if I'm picking you guys up on the live stream, I'm going to ask people if they can actually hear you. If they can't hear you, what I'm going to do is turn on my phone, put you on the speakerphone on my phone and patch you in that way so people can hear you, because I feel what we're going to share is important. So I'm going to call in, and because I'm not sure if anybody can just hear just me, and that's kind of what I don't want to happen. I want it to be a little bit of so I'm gonna do that real quick. Just bear with me, but you guys go ahead and share what you want to share, because I find technology can be kind of a butthole sometimes, and let's see if I can patch myself into the show.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you'll be able to listen to the show.
Well, I'm in. Okay, hold on a second.
It's a miracle.
We are navigating technology here.
Tell it to fix my phone while you navigate. Tell the pilot to fix my get my texts back because I need them.
It's just going to be kind of weird.
Are you turning into a werewolf?
I'm turning into something.
Whoa!
It's going to be like
I knew
a
it.
feed. All right, let's see if we can hear me, because I think I have froze myself, but keep talking because I can hear. We can keep going with the show and continue because that's important. So let's go. Let's hit that. Let's hit that real hard.
Hit it, Heidi. You go first. I want to hear your. I have a couple ideas of spontaneous healing, but I know I'll be inspired with you too.
Yeah. Well, what's coming to me is about the empowerment. The empowerment of our own healing abilities. What I think is most important, and one of the things that I really try to focus on with my clients or friends or myself, is that, we all are healers. We're all have the innate ability to heal each other and ourselves, and that it's essentially this kind of lie that we buy into, that we are sick or that we have a diagnosis or that we are out of balance or that we're, I think that for me, I feel like when you are working to heal something, or it's important to keep searching for healing, Like one of the things that I think for us, I don't know if you guys experience this, but for me in my practice, that when people come to me, they're like, oh, am I the most fucked up person you've seen? And I'm like, actually, by the time in our city, at least, by the time someone comes to see me, a shamanic practitioner, they've usually exhausted all their options. They've usually, like they're like, I'm so fucking desperate right now. Like, just give me what you got. You know what I mean? Just anything. Like, I've tried everything. And so it's like, I think that it's common for me to see people like literally on their knees, like in prayer, in desperation for the healing, and it's like it takes sometimes I feel like it takes us so much suffering and pain and dismissal of ourselves to get to that point, and really it's like I think for me it's really like living my life on my knees. Living my life on my knees where I'm saying, like, yes, I know I have the power to see the situation clearly, to see myself as whole. And I also need my friends to hold my hand, when I'm forgetting that. So I feel like self-healing and spontaneous healing, a lot of it is, honestly, you've got to be on your knees. You've got to be at that place where you're on your knees and you're going, like, I will do anything. I'll do whatever it takes. I love my life. I want my life. I want my my health, I want my family. And so for some of this, that's what it takes, to get to that place. So the healing, the profound healing that I've seen in myself and others, it's a lot of it has a factor of never giving up, never giving up on your wholeness, your innate wholeness. For me, like I personally, I can speak to my own, self-healing, which involved a very, I suffered with severe suicidal depression for at least a decade. I was medicated heavily with psychiatric medications, and it took me really going down the path of trying whatever it took, everything and anything, to find my wholeness again, to get out of that, the darkness that I was in. And, so I've been free from psychiatric meds for like about a year and a half, and I honestly think psychiatric meds, I'm not dissing anyone who does them, like they were a lifesaver for me, for sure, for many years. But I'm also super, super proud and of myself for the healing that I have done, and I know that for me has to do with recognizing, of course, that I'm not alone in my healing process, in my wholeness. And so at the same time, and I want to speak to what you said, Iggy, about when people have this healing and then they go home and it's different, right? Because a lot of times people will be with me in the sacred space of ceremony, or a client session or whatever you would call it, and they're feeling that light, they're feeling that wholeness, they're feeling that, and then maybe they go home and they're good for a couple of days or 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever, and then they feel like, I'm kind of back in a slump, or this thing is still bothering me. It's a process of being lifted, being lifted really into our wholeness. So I think it's like ultimately we have to take into our own hands the responsibility of our healing, and continually every day. So that's kind of what I have about that for right now.
That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Agreed.
All right, Don.
It's so weird. Like, I'm so used to just being me and you, and then, like, I'm this way on the phone, too. I'm like, wait, should I talk now? Wait, no, you're talking. Should I talk now? I personally, I definitely agree with Heidi on the fact that healing's, a process and that there's layers. I was talking to this woman the other day who has a large online presence and community, and she said something like, once something's healed, it's healed. And I'm like, oh, honey, I thought that too at 25. But wait till you have kids, then it comes back up. Wait till your kids fuck with you, then it comes back up. Wait till that, wait till your parent gets sick, and then it comes back up. So, I think that it is cyclical. Now, I do believe that one of our gifts, I guess I can't speak for you guys, but I'm assuming because we have a lot of this similar dynamic of abilities, is that when a client comes to me, there's a dimensional frequency which happens, which changes time. Therefore, the instantaneous or quicker healing can happen. I contribute it to connecting not only with the spirit realm, with the oneness, all that is, but also, literally invoking higher powers and spirits. That combined with, my big thing is tracking and listening to the body, because I think a lot of trauma, a lot of illness, a lot of dis-ease happens to the body. So I have two specific examples that came to mind. One, and this is spontaneous healing, and one spontaneous fertility. I'll start with that. A woman came to me, and she'd been having so much trouble getting pregnant. The doctor's like, we don't understand. You're fertile. You're young. What's going on? So, like Heidi said, I was the last person. I'm actually doing her hair. And she's like, well, what do you got? Some magic juju we can try? I said, hey, let's try it. Let's ask your body why it isn't pregnant. So, by opening up the space-time frequency at different, dimensional fields, what's that? I don't know if I just heard a spirit or Iggy. Did someone just talk?
Yeah, that was something that came through. I heard it too. Keep going.
Creepy. I'm just kidding. So this woman, powers that be don't want it to come out. I'm like, fuck you. People can take on their own health, and I'm going to speak to it. I ain't scared no more. So she lays on the table, and it's a very simple process of just trusting the first thing you hear. And that's how I use my healing every day, as I listen to the first thing I need. So she went into her womb space, and I don't remember if it was rabbit medicine or what. She envisioned it in there. 4 weeks later, next time. I mean, this whole thing happened of unfolding, connecting, colors, breathing life into the uterus, talking to it, telling it it's safe to be pregnant. And after connecting with her body, she got pregnant that next cycle. And then the other most miraculous, one of my favorite, this happened years ago, was a nurse. Again, I was doing her hair, and she had such bad wrists and forearms. And she's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm in the medical field. They can't help me. So we went in, we opened up the field to ask the arm, and it turns out she'd been sucking in. She was a healer. Obviously, she's a nurse. So she was taking in everyone's energy, but the body is so genius that it was stopping it in the wrist and the elbows, so it didn't poison the rest of her body. So she was drawing out other people's, chemo energy and poisons, and that's the miraculous thing of the body. But it was getting stuck there, and she had horrible pain. And we said, so what do you need, wrist? What do you need to help? And it wanted a tornado. And I said, I know, it's crazy, girl. Just visualize a tiny tornado in there. Well, she came back 8 weeks later, no pain ever again in that wrist. And these things require being witnessed, as Heidi said, so knowing that you're not alone in your suffering. A lot of suffering just dissipates once you find out that, hey, someone fucking cares, and they're not going to empathy block you and one-up you. They really just care. Calling in and witnessing ancestors' suffering that's manifesting in your body. And I don't think that we actually heal. I don't think I actually heal others. I think that I just help guide and hold that space for them to transmute the suffering, witness it, ask what it needs, bring in some elements. And it's such a freaking gift. It's a blessing to do this work. I feel really honored. And I also, last bit, I definitely agree with Heidi that only through me being through some of the tortures of hell have I cultivated these abilities. I don't think I could share it if I didn't, practice it. And practice it and practice it and have gone to some of the dark nights of the soul and then trusted in myself as well. And like she said, never gave up. I will not give up. I am a stubborn little shit. I was like, I'm never going to die. I don't care if everyone dies around me. I'll live forever. And something broke through. So, yeah. That's my two favorite stories that pop into my mind when you talk about spontaneous healing, for sure.
I find it interesting about, spontaneous healing and self-healing. I mean, they kind of I don't know if they go hand in hand or not. Maybe they do, they don't. But I've seen where people who have been totally, been sick, totally ill, and then all of a sudden you say something to them or something is said to them, and they just kind of like snap out of it. My mom's a good example. She was very sick, very ill at one point in her life, and, she had cancer. And she, was told that she didn't have long to live, and, there were some circumstances that played out, too, in her life and things that were happening to her. And then one day, I don't know, my brothers and sisters, we all said something to her, and you know what? She just kind of snapped out of it, came out of it. And the cancer, of course she got operated on, but her health, she just like was back, She decided to live, she was ready to die. She'd given up, and she's just threw in the towel and didn't expect much more than what she already had. And she's still alive, and she's still going through some of the pains and stuff. But I remember, that was almost 20 some years ago. But, when she just decided to live, she said, I'm going to live. I don't want to die. And she's still here.
Huh. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, I met her mom, and I know she comes from some strong, epic women.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My grandma's still alive. She's in her 90s, late 90s.
I got the pleasure of meeting her. Very cool woman. Very, very cool. I don't think I've seen that yet, but I'm young in my medicine, I'm just 38, going to turn 39. I know I have years and years where I get to see so much cool stuff, but I haven't seen a miracle. I would love for my mom to have that, but I have seen some really powerful transmutation, like when people, it's almost like believing. I had this thought when I was meditating about the show. It's almost like it's a belief. It's like believing. Why are those people on the religious shows being touched and getting better? It's because they believe it. It's like, if I believe it can happen, it can happen. And I notice, like, when people are like, I believe I can get better, they do. Or I believe I can become empowered. I believe in, the power of ceremony. Boom, the ceremony works.
Mm-hmm.
I did a ritual to bring in $10,000 a month. It didn't work. I didn't believe it when I was doing it. I was like, I did not work. I mean, work came in, don't get me wrong.
I brought $10
in. I was burning that candle and doing my chants. I was like, this shit ain't going to work. That's too much money.
That's a good point. Valid point right there, if you think you're worthy of something, you'll honor it. If you don't think you're worthy of it, you won't honor that space. You won't honor that energy. You won't bring it into your space. And I'd have to say a lot of people don't bring things into their spaces because they've never had it before and don't feel like they were deserving of it to begin with. I don't know, Heidi, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to talk a little bit about healing, the unexpected healing too, and the way that healing, can be tricky sometimes and not what we expect. I was going to speak a little bit to that because I wanted to tell this story about my father who was in a car accident in 2005, and the accident was in New Zealand, and so he was in a coma for 3 months, and beyond, had to relearn everything because he lived through these traumatic brain injuries. So it's 12 years later, he's still alive, and in his body, but very much from my, shamanic diagnostic, he's very much not, his soul's not embodied, right? As much as it could be. So, which looks like his personality is not what it used to be, right? So he's not the same father that I knew. But when I started the School of the Modern Shaman in the spring, I teach soul retrieval, and I do soul retrieval frequently in my practice. And so I had asked my father if, we could do some soul retrieval with him, and he straight up said no. He was like, nope, don't want it, don't want the healing, and I was like, okay, all right. And also, I don't know if you guys experience this, but it is more difficult for me to work with family, even though, at least at this point, like Don said, I feel like I'm pretty young in my medicine too, so, but when at the last night of the class, we were doing some more soul retrieval. The students were learning soul retrieval and doing soul retrieval on themselves and some other students. And I was in my trance, and I got the message, now's the time to do a soul retrieval for your dad. And so I checked in with his higher self, which I wouldn't do necessarily remote healing on someone without their permission or without their permission or without their confirmation. But this was such a strong message, right? Now's the time right now. We had a window or something, right? So I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. Because my father is not exactly conscious anyway. He's not in his full consciousness as it is. Mm-hmm. So, and his wife, I had asked her, she's his caregiver, so she was a yes. Okay, so went through the ceremony, did it, and kind of thought nothing of it. I was like, well, we'll see what happens, And 6 weeks later, and I think, Don, you might know this story, but 6 weeks later, my father stole the car keys and drove for 3 hours, and he hasn't driven since the accident at all. Mm-hmm. So it took some time in 3D time for that to kind of catch up, but some of that vital essence came back to his body, and enabled him to have the consciousness to get up, get the keys, drive the car for 3 hours. He thought he was going somewhere completely different than he ended up, and thank goodness he was okay. And his wife, a couple of days later after everything had settled down, the cops had to find him and everything. And a couple of days later, I called his wife and I said, just wanted to let you know, I think maybe the soul retrieval that we did had something to do with that. And she was like, you could have told me. I was like, I didn't know that it was going to cause, I didn't know that he was going to go drive 3 hours, and see, everything is fine. But also, the last time that I spoke to my father, which was a couple weeks ago on the phone, he usually, first of all, he doesn't really usually remember who I am. He usually thinks I'm his sister. But he also, when I always tell him, I love you, Dad. And the last time I was on the phone with him, he said, I love you too. For the first time in, I don't even remember how long. So, I think sometimes, well, at least with the work that I do, it doesn't necessarily occur to me as spontaneous, but it's very powerful, and I think healing shows up in different ways. Like the other most recent soul retrieval that I worked with that was really impactful for me and was a teaching for me was a woman a grandmother of a friend of mine who was actually dying, but I didn't know that coming into it, that she was dying. And so we were doing the healing work and the ceremony with her, and it was very powerful. For her it was like she was really in it. There was a lot of release, like a lot of verbalization, a lot of movement of her body, while I'm doing energy work with her. And, she ended up passing the next day. And so whatever needed to happen, whatever needed to occur for her, the soul retrieval that we did was part of her releasing the body, and certainly there's some confusion with that for myself, as like what we don't necessarily know all the time exactly what's going on, because we're working with spirits, we're working with those benevolent spirits that are doing work through us, with us, and that was a really interesting, but I would consider that her death in that state was a spontaneous healing, because sometimes releasing the body is that.
That's an awesome story. I want to let everybody know that we're on the air here with Heidi Howes and Don Thompson. They're local facilitators here in Columbus, Ohio, through their own practices of intuitive work and shamanism and spirituality that they've created and they've actually been endowed with through spirit. We're here on With Insights Radio on the Blog Talk Radio Network, and we're also doing a live stream as well. So if it sounds a little choppy than usual when we do our shows, because I'm trying to balance the technologies, but we're going to go to a quick break really fast, and we're going to be coming right back, so hang on, guys.
You are listening to WithinsightsRadio.com on the Blog Talk Radio Network, your free online holistic publication resource radio for trusting your intuition, achieving self-discovery, and following your soul self. You are listening to WithinsightsRadio.com, your free online resource for achieving self-discovery and inspiration. With Insights Radio is a listener-supported radio station, and your donations are greatly appreciated. We cover a variety of topics, interviews surrounding the metaphysical and holistic and natural medicine, alternative healing modalities, and much more. Thank you for tuning in to WithinsightsRadio.com.
All right, welcome back to With Insights Radio. This is Iggy Garcia Live, episode 38, Self-Healing, Spontaneous Healing. My special guests tonight are Don Thompson and Heidi Howes. We're actually just have a little forum here. We're talking and just talking a little bit about the healing process. What causes somebody to heal? Why do some people heal and why do others don't? There's also a topic about, Western medicine, which I like to talk about also because the white coat medicine is as important, as the spiritual medicine that we also work with. I do find that there are people who truly believe in their white coat medicine and their doctors. I know people who have had cancer who have gone the gamut of chemotherapy and done fantastic, and they've healed. But I also have friends who didn't, who it just didn't work, and it didn't play out. So those things are kind of interesting to me because they also, they would probably have some variable that says, well, maybe it started too late, or maybe it just doesn't do that cancer. What I've studied over the years, here about, the human body and the cells is, when we create cancer, it's us fighting ourselves, our emotional issues, our emotional traumas, the things that we can't get over. Because most people actually that I have encountered and worked with are actually die of the same cancer as their parents. I had one client, one lady who, through Sweat Lodge work, we found out that, she died of breast cancer, but she had the same issue her mom did. Her breast, she had a certain type of cancer where her breast got so rock hard and where she just held that anger in there. She was so angry at her mom about stuff. But her mom also was the same way. And her mom was so angry about her mom. So there's this, lineage of energy that's just being passed down over and over.
Yes,
and I find,
yes.
But you get what I'm saying, though, right? It's just.
Oh my gosh! Yes,
we believe things. We believe things. We take on energies. We take on things that are told us. Well, since your family has cancer and heart disease, you most likely will have cancer and heart disease too. Bullshit, man. I don't buy into that. I truly, personally, don't buy into that philosophy because you know what? That's programming. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I know that. Go ahead.
Absolutely. absolutely. Don't curse me with that. Don't curse me with that. That's a curse.
Yeah. I think of both. I mean, I've got both. I've got the part where, like, I mean, they've done a study I remember reading where a twin, you know, someone who adopts a kid, talk about programming, that kid might get what the adoptive parent had. So you can get it through that way, but I think it's energy as well, because I noticed that you can also get something that you never experienced or heard about. So I'm not super sold that it's all programming, because I don't subscribe. I barely know anything about my grandma, but I heard from my spirit guides the other day, you need a lymph node drainage. And then I remembered, oh my God, didn't my grandmother I never met die of, lymphomia or something? I couldn't remember. And I went to get my lymph nodes drained, and they were super, super clogged. And I think it's because of the emotional thing. Like you said, whatever energy my grandmother did not deal with, whether I know what she had or not, if I don't I learned from my parents how to deal with this stuff. So if I didn't learn how to deal with anger, if I didn't know how to learn with fear, if my grandmother processed fear through her lymph nodes instead of her muscles, regardless if I'm doing that, there's a chance. Now here's where the spontaneous and the self-healing comes in, is that I can listen. I can listen to my body, and I can feel it so deeply that I go, ooh, there's something weird going on in my lymph nodes, man. I'm going to go check it out. So, and then I had a client once who's going blind, and she's like, oh, my sisters are going blind. What's going on? I went to Hawaii. I'm enjoying the last of my sight. Can we do anything about it? So I tap in. This grandmother, 9 generations back, so she had no clue about this, came right up in my face, and she said, I did this. I'm so sorry. And so I said, go ahead, tell me, great grandmother, like what's up? And she said, well, I saw something so horrific that I never wanted anyone in my family line to have to witness that again. I don't know. She didn't show me if it was rape, murder, what, but it was so bad that she goes, the people I love should never have to see this. By saying that, she almost projected that into her DNA, and then therefore it was happening. At least this is what she taught me. She also channeled through a way to reverse it, which was honoring, her suffering, making an altar. And so, I mean, I'm still learning about this stuff. So I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be if you say it, then you get it, and you've been cursed through the voice. Yet I tend to lean more towards there's something much more complex happening here with us getting what our parents got. I refused to my mother that my colon has anything to do with her family's colon cancer. Finally went to go get a colonoscopy. I had 2 cancerous cells. So if she did that, I'm pissed. But it's in there, man. It's in there. It's like it lies in when my grandmother died, I saw a big ball of something go over my mother's head and enter my body. I saw it. And I was like, what was that? It was her stuff, man.
So basically it sounds like what you're saying is we're one big, huge memory stick. Like your computer memory?
I'm wondering. I mean, I don't know. I think that if I was in my mom's belly, I absorbed some of that stuff. I mean, if I was created from her DNA, I got some of her DNA. Doesn't mean I have to. I think you can rewire the programming to some degree, especially for the next generation. But I don't know if you can totally escape your DNA wiring. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. What do you think, Heidi?
Oh, geez. I think it's either or, both. I think it's both ands, and either or. And it's always unique. It's always unique, for each person. That's why we can't look at every patient as the same, or every disease as the same, or we can't. And that's. You talked about the white coat medicine. We've got to look deeply into everyone's every single person's energy field, and that's what we do. And I think what Dawn was saying earlier, sometimes just being a witness and holding space for a person they've never experienced before is the healing. It's because, ultimately, and how I try to approach every session and my relationships when I'm at my best, of course, because with family and with, people who are close and intimate with us, it's we get to show up and be vulnerable with them, and it's not always easy, right? But I think for me, like whenever I sit with a client or with students or whatever, I just always try to tap into that universal love, that unconditional love, which is the healing mechanism, ultimately, And so when we can come from that and be in that, I feel like that alone creates so much healing, just the listening and just the showing up and being and holding space for a person to be in the place wherever they are, not try to fix it necessarily, but try to look deeply into like where is this blockage or where is this cloud,
Right.
And love it. Yeah. Love people through it,
Yeah, I agree with you. There is a part that that we do inherit. We do inherit some like code and some kind of message that is brought through us. That's why we look like some of the people who are, in our past, some of our ancestors.
That's why you look exactly like your mom. Just kidding.
My mom was here.
Hey, Mom.
But there is parts, but in my belief system though, even though that's carried through, I think we have a way to move that energy and move that out of our space if we don't want to truly have that in there. Knocking on wood, I've been pretty fortunate, to be as healthy as I have been. Actually, as I'm older, I feel healthier than I was when I was younger. When I was younger, I had more problems, so-called problems about my body, and I beat up my body royally. I mean, I had to have surgery. I had this intestinal thing, and then this hernia, and I had all this stuff. But I've been fortunate as I've gotten older that I'm able to change my thoughts a little bit, and the choices that I make are a little more different. I can refine a little. I still got a lot of work to do, but I remember, being a younger man, the things that worried me and the things that caused to do to my body, what it made it, what made it do. And I find it now that as I'm aware with those new memories and that new knowledge that I'm able to change things slightly a little bit to work out to my benefit versus, taking on that energy that it's not really mine. It's somebody else's story, but it's been passed on to me so I can actually help heal that story wasn't able to be healed back then. And that's what the sevenfold generational, work that I do is about, healing those past traumas of our ancestors, because our ancestors didn't have good teachers, possibly, and when you think of it, the three of us have stepped into a special calling, that maybe somebody in our lineage down the road way back did it, or maybe we're the first. We don't know. But regardless, we have an opportunity. We've been learning and teaching and still learning and still be teaching how to heal those pieces and parts of ourselves. By healing the pieces and parts of ourselves, we'll heal the people who have already transcended into, the next existence. I believe that.
Yes.
Yep.
I do too. I also think there might be something to, what we kind of charted to experience before we got here. So like, if someone, and I just get this inkling from doing, years of readings. It's like that whole, this is like 5,000 other shows you could do on free will versus destiny, but which is kind of mirroring what we're talking about. But like, how much control do we have? And for me, in my own healing process, like, I don't know, something's ringing out about like what Heidi said about the letting go. Like I can listen. I can listen when, my body says, you can't really actually feel your lymph nodes. I actually just heard that from my higher self. Like, you need those drained, because if I wouldn't have, eventually I would have gotten cancer. That's the place, you got to clear that out. I listen, and that's what I want to help teach people, is how to listen to their own, not depend on, I love that, the white coats. Check it out. They've been some of my worst suffering, and they've saved my life. Like Like they did the birth process with me. I wish I wouldn't have went there. Birthing wasn't a medical procedure that I needed to experience. Yet, if I wouldn't have went to them when my jaw was, I know you guys probably remember, I know I sent you pictures of when my jaw was swollen, 10 times its size. And dude, I would have died. I do not think that shamanism would have cured that. If it could have, I probably could have done it, but there was no visualization. I was like, homie was going to croak.
More sage on it. More sage on it.
Yeah, there was no
More
sage. Curing that. Or, even more the flu. Some of the flu that I had last year, I was hallucinating. Now, I could have made it through, but I'm kind of glad for modern medicine, but I would not. I mean, there's so many times I said, I'm losing my hair. I'm losing my teeth. I'm losing, I was on 7 different medications in my early 20s, because I'm crazy. Well, it turns out I'm just an empath extrasensory, but at the time, it was like if I wouldn't have believed in myself and learned how to listen to myself in spirit, I would be a goner. I would not be alive right now.
Mm-hmm.
What a magical gift you got, though. Think about it. As painful as it was a magical gift too.
Mm-hmm. All the biggest pains in my life have been the most gifts. Watching my dad die was one of the most painful things. Him screaming in terror as he's suffocating on lung fluid, okay? And so grief, lungs. He just could not stop smoking, even after he knew that he had emphysema and COPD. And watching him yell, I wanted to go out to eat more. Oh, what if Jesus doesn't take me? I should have spent more time. I mean, like in sheer terror, like this big manly man who I used to curl up in his arms, screaming in terror, was worse. I have not watched a horror movie since 24 years old seeing that. I never will, because that was the ultimate horror. And he gave me the biggest gift of life, because I will be scared to death and do something anyways, because I do not want to be on my deathbed afraid shitless of living, or sad that I didn't live. And so, I mean, I guess that doesn't really go with spontaneous healing, but what it does go with is like, yes, I agree. Suffering brings gifts. It does. It does not feel that way at the time. At the time, I'm like, seriously, more suffering. What did I chart? Oh.
Yeah, I think that there would be more spontaneous healing and more self-healing if people, and there will be when, as is happening, when all the different kinds of medicine come together. When we're working together, because I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I see doctors and nurse practitioners and nurses in my practice who come to me and I'm like, it's almost like I'm like, okay, so we're not telling anyone that you're here. What I mean? Like I'm like, it's like I feel like I need to keep it secret. But but it's really powerful, and I'm super humbled by that, because I feel like yes, this is exactly what we need. We need more white coats and who are using sage, in their own home and saying, this is something that's obviously a spiritual issue, And I think what we see is that, those issues that are kind of ongoing spiritual, emotional, mental issues that when they become dense and come into the physical, that's where the scalpel is needed. I mean, I had two emergency C-sections, with my children that were much needed. It was, I wouldn't be here, they wouldn't be here without it. So I'm forever grateful for that medicine, and I think it has its place, just like ours has its place, So, but I really am looking forward to and envisioning the future, the soon future, the near future, in which we're all working together,
I love that.
And
I love that.
That's happening. And that's happening, though. In other countries, it's sometimes modern medicine meets, old world medicine, and they work together. And I know in China it's huge. They do a lot of work in China where they they do on-hands healing, like a type of Reiki, and they heal tumors and heal cancers and different things like that by just, reaching out and the power of belief. And then, Western medicine has its place, like you said, when you break your leg, you don't want someone fanning sage on you. You want somebody putting you in a cast. And I think it all has its place, and you're right. And, even back in the olden times when we were all, before there was no real hospitals, the shaman practitioner or the medicine man would have to create splints and stuff. So it's nothing new. It's just something that we have to remember and do. I don't want to get off topic, but, we have a thing called pharmaceutical companies, and they want to pump you with pills. But and I think sometimes that stuff can actually apprehend, the process of the neurotransmitters in your brain to make you dependent on this stuff, and then you forget about how to heal. You forget how to be yourself. You forget to know how to do things. And, we can spin off a whole different topics, but, I try to find that, healing individuals and healing families in the community and society and the planet is important to me. And that's why this documentary that I'm creating is to, bring awareness and just kind of see it. But I want to see it from all angles, not just a holistic and metaphysical angle. I want to see it from the white coat angle. If I fortunate enough to get an interview with a doctor or a nurse practitioner or somebody about it, because that's it's all encompassing. We're going to need it, all of it. We're going to need all of it in order to survive and move forward into this world we live in.
What a great work. What a great piece of art. I am so excited about your documentary. You let me know how I can support you in any way with that.
Well, you're already supporting. Both of you are already supporting. This will be on our on the video pieces and parts of this when it starts. I know it's going to be a long process, and I understand it's going to be one of those things that I'll have to do a lot of networking and communicating with people. So it's going to be a new adventure for me to explore aspects of myself out in the community and trying to reach and send a message about the work that is done here in Columbus, Ohio. And I want to gear it to Columbus, Ohio, and I want to gear it to how healing occurs in the city, versus someone going to the jungles like Don, like you and I went to the jungles of Peru to take ayahuasca. I want to see how we can heal in the urban setting, in the suburban setting, in the urban setting. What's going on behind closed doors? What's going on? What's happening? There's a whole huge movement of people who are doing this work. Heidi, you're one. Don, you're one of them. We're three of many.
Yeah, and I think especially in Columbus, I mean, I feel like, I was guided to come to the city. I was living in the woods for the majority of my adult life. And, when I came to the city 7 years ago, it was like that's when my path in healing really started happening, because I'm clear that this is where I'm supposed to be, even though I would personally probably really like to be off in the woods again, or on the beach. But, I think also we're seeing, shamanic healing is definitely finally coming forward in our city, at least in the Midwest, which is new. Because you can go to the coast and people will know, like, oh yeah, my shaman this or my shaman that, right? but I mean, in Columbus, it's just starting to kind of, I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to see more people accepting it, seeing it as an option for them, and that's exciting because it helps us to know that we're in our purpose,
Absolutely.
Definitely seen that collective awakening too. It's really neat to not only watch it here, but through online, like see how many people are remembering ancient information and ways, and for just the everyday person to believe the journey to the heart, as a shamanic journey, and the people that are coming to this journey. I'm doing twice a month now. They don't even know why they came. They're just like listening to their higher self. They're like, yeah, we just saw it and knew we had to sign up. I'm like, whoa, that's what I'm talking about. I stand for that. Do not use, one of my favorite things I saw recently was, that facts replace knowledge, and then, knowledge replaced wisdom. And that wisdom is just listening. That's all. It's like a listening, because there is no, like, it's always this or that. It's always, family hereditary. It's always because because I smoked, I have cancer. Like, it's so much more complex that the facts aren't going to be as helpful if no one's listening to their own personal thing. But, oh my gosh, I get off on a tangent on that and I can't even explain it. Like, I'm trying to explain this, but
I know both of you have probably run into people who just seem to be able to move themselves out of that energy that makes them ill and sick or whatever, or not get sick at all. And then you have other groups that just totally are constantly just in the quagmire of despair and just can't seem to move out of that energy.
They want to be witnessed so badly, like Heidi, mentioned at the beginning. I know and I feel this about myself too, and everyone. When they're suffering, they want witnessed. Yet there are some people that can't get out of the suffering. The suffering is comfortable, and in the healing and feeling heal. The suffering might get them attention, might get them love, and the healing might not be comfortable. I mean, I found myself in other areas of my life, thinking, oh, if I just have this, then I'll be happy. And then I get it. And I'm like, ooh, I'm so used to this, this other energy that even though this is more beneficial, more benevolent, it's not, it's uncomfortable. So I could see why if someone's in a quagmire of negativity and that's all they've known, that's like, that could be hard to get out of.
Well, sure. It's also, I mean, I think it's also like we are in collusion with like our family, our ancestry, our relationships. Like a lot of people that I see too, they're maybe their illness is a soul kind of a manipulation, some kind of they're feeding from the victimhood. I mean, I can attest to probably having been in those states myself, Also, if you are the one who's sick in your family and you've always been the sick one in your family and that's your place in your family or whatever, then everybody's invested in that. Everyone's invested in that. So you changing that could mean, oh, what's going to happen to me next? Who am I going to be now that I'm not the sick one? Or, people just stay in those mindsets, for certain reasons. It's not always, I think you have to truly want to be free. Yeah.
Now, I know you talked about earlier that people sometimes just heal and they just don't know how it just happens. I want to talk a little bit about the mind, how the mind plays into healing, how the mind, if it is a mental thing or not a mental thing. There's a lot of people who talk about placebo effects where, they have controlled, groups where one group gets a sugar pill and the other group actually gets the medicine, and there's another group that gets nothing. But yet, the group that sometimes gets nothing actually does better than the groups that got the placebo pill or the regular pill. And I find that kind of interesting. So hold that thought real quick. We'll come back to that. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to take a quick break and let that roll around a little bit.
You are listening to WithinsightsRadio.com on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Your free online holistic publication resource radio for trusting your intuition, achieving self-discovery, and following your soul self. You are listening to The Gypsy Wagon with your host, Don Thompson.
Thought I'd give Dawn a little plug there since she's on our network.
Wait, you pushed the wrong button.
That's coming up next week. Still be on next week.
Yeah, that's next week.
Next Wednesday at noon. So for those of you who want a little more insight about Dawn. And, before we go on to the next topic that I'm talking about, Heidi, why don't you start and give us a little bit of information where people can find you, a website, where you work from, something that people can grab onto there.
Sure. Yeah, so my website is HeidiHouse.com, and I also work out of the Reiki Center in Grandview, thereikicenter.net. So that's where you can find me. I'm also on Instagram at Heidi House and Facebook, Heidi House, HeidiHows. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. All right, Dawn, you're up. Where can we find you?
You can find me in your dreams, where I'll do the medicine work in your dream. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. You can find me dancing in your backyard. No, I'm trying to be serious. Dawn-Thompson.com. And if you go to Dawn-Thompson.com or Dawn of the New Era on Facebook, so I post all my events there, my dance parties. You can get one-on-one sessions, readings. I created my own oracle card deck. And I also want to plug real quick that if you're in the area, I'm doing a whole weekend of workshops on the 9th in Yellow Springs, Dayton. So you'll find me there doing what I've been waiting a long time to do, which is a retreat in the coolest town ever. So Dawn-Thompson.com for more details.
Awesome.
Did that sound like a commercial? Sometimes when we plug ourselves, it sounds like a commercial. I'm like, go to Dawn-Thompson.com and press on events. And I'm like, ew, there's got to be a different way to say this.
Go to IggyGarcia.com. And you can find me on IggyGarcia.com or withinsightsradio.com.
Yeah, you're good at it. You're so good. You sound like an amazing smooth jazz operator.
All my calendar is full. You're listening to Iggy Garcia Live, and my guests are Dawn Thompson and Heidi House. And now we're kind of talking about healing, but I want to talk about the mind, how the mind works in healing. And if you find that there's a big part of your mind that creates that healing. So who would like to go first?
Me. I have my hand up.
Okay, you.
Like, who's that? Oh my gosh. So, I found out that what we're talking with right now, right, is like maybe 8 to 10% of our alert conscious self, but we have this whole other 90% subconscious. And when I found that out, it made so much sense, because I'm a medium. I've just been doing what, Mary Magdalene and all these guides have been guiding me to do that feels right. But when I found that out, I understood the scientific reason why, healings were occurring. It's because people are getting out of their logical mind and going into that subconscious void, that part when they're in a deep state, when the nervous system is settled and they're able to get out of their mind, get into their body, get into the subconscious. And I truly believe that is where healing resides. So, both the journey into the heart and my Eve and Lilith journey are about getting people out of their thinking mind into this vortex of the mysterious subconscious, utilizing visualization and relaxation. And it's so freaking profound. I wish that people could I wish they'd do studies and put electrodes on people when they're doing this work and see what parts of the brain are being activated. I'm so curious about that. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah, I definitely concur about the power of the subconscious mind. And it takes consistent effort, I think. I think it takes consistent effort on our part to continually go to the higher mind, the subconscious mind, and really reprogram. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about, think positive. It's not that, because I feel like it's always holding the duality of like, you've got to really rise above the quote unquote good and the bad, like feeling all of it, but also
Yes.
recognizing that there's more. And, that's a constant practice. It's a daily, hourly practice of, really like rising into the truth,
Definitely.
So I think it's a huge part of healing. I mean, it's a huge part of healing, and a huge part of, and I mean, the placebo test, all the research on placebos and things like that, and mind over matter. I mean, we know these things are real. We know that that it can make the difference, and sometimes it doesn't. And there's something else called divine timing, which guess what? We don't get to look at our watch for that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So,
Yep.
Divine timing. That's. I like when you said that. That's important. That's very powerful. But I do find that the mind plays a lot in a lot of things, not just in the healing factor. I coach sports in soccer, and I always tell my kids, the game starts in your head. It starts in your head. I mean, you actually, everything that you can visualize begins there. So when you create that visual in your mind, it translates out into your body. It translates out to your feet, your hands, and the belief system. It translates into your beliefs too, because if you don't believe that you're a player, and you don't believe that you can dribble or juggle or whatever, then most likely your body's going to do exactly what you told it not to do. But if you at least have an inkling of belief that you can and you will and it's possible, then you start to train the muscles. You start to train the cells. You start to train your subconscious mind and your super subconscious mind, the one that makes all the body work without you even have to think about it. And then the mind is that strong because our brain, our mind has never seen daylight. It's been inside of our skull forever. So, everything that we project through our eyes is through the senses. We see, we look out, we touch, we feel, we taste, we hear. That all that stuff is being translated back into our head and back into our mind, and we have to take those pieces in parts and decode it and say, okay, that's what Don looks like. Oh, that's what Heidi looks like. Oh, that's what a sweat lodge looks like. Oh, this is what healing looks like. Why is he healing? Why don't I heal? It's all taking the information and processing it.
It's freaking complex. That is really complex.
I mean, there's been studies where it says, we live in a virtual world almost, and our mind is actually bouncing off signals to things that are in front of us. Could you imagine, and Don, I've talked to you about this, I don't think I've said anything to Heidi, but could you imagine, if you didn't have sight, you didn't have your voice, you didn't have your ears, you didn't have any feelings in your body, you couldn't sit, but you existed. And yet you had to communicate to the world what was going on in your head. You would learn. There would be a way. You would find out. But that would be such an amazing journey to live like that.
Sure would. Sure would. It seems, I heard something recently that we're all one soul with different expressions, all these different expressions. But when it comes to the mind, I'm noticing that it's porous. It's porous like the heart. I feel like people can send thoughts and it can come into my mind. So I have to really negotiate with what's mine and what's not mine. I have to negotiate in my mind what is these different aspects of my personality speaking. Is that my inner child? Is that my critic voice? Is that my... It's my mind's kind of a scary place. I actually don't want to go there. I try to stick to the body because my mind, every time they give me acupuncture, I went to see, I've been to all different types of healers. I go to this, this Ayurvedic medicine man, and he's like, take these herbs, and then your mind will slow down. And I took the herbs, and then he checked me out 6 weeks later, and his eyes got real big, and he was he was apologetic. He's like, I'm sorry, that's your mind. I can't help you. You might want to just take the white coat's medicine. And I was like, no, I won't do it. I was like, my mind is it's just intense. It's like a satellite. But I wonder how much of it is witnessing. I love that theory of witnessing our thoughts, and this is kind of like the Buddhist mindfulness type of thing, witnessing it rather than subscribing to it, because I don't know if the thoughts are coming from, my stepmom's voice from when I was younger who's really mean to me, or the girls at school who are really mean to me. I don't know if that's who's, creating this thought, or if it's my, my parent self, higher self. So that's my mind practice, is to try not to subscribe, because I got a lot of voices in there.
Mm-hmm. You and me both.
Yeah, good. I'm glad I'm not alone. It feels good. Just even talking to you two about being a medicine person, because I don't know about you guys, but I often feel that it can be a lonely path, a lonely-ish path.
Mm-hmm.
It can be.
For sure.
Exciting, fun. I wouldn't change it for anything, but definitely just, connecting with you two about this project that you're doing, Iggy, is very comforting. I'm like, oh yeah, there's other people like me. There's many of us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's guys who do it, and they don't have practices, they just do it. And then people come to them, and that was me for many years. People just showed up at my door, Don't know how you got there, but there you are.
Destiny. I say destiny.
Why are
it's
you
a little
here?
scary.
Well, destiny is one of those things that, we all have, because, it's supposed to be predetermined, but I think it's how we experience our destiny in the way that makes it special. We have the choice to experience it, no matter how.
I like that.
Yeah, we all got that magic number. We're all going to take number 369 billionth person.
I'll take a 69, so my mind will slow down. No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing ornery shaman tonight. Sorry, guys.
I love it.
In the bath, you liar. No, I'm sure.
I actually haven't had dinner yet because I was working early, so I'm probably going to sign off on the show here soon. But I really love you guys. I respect you guys. I would love to continue the mind conversation, but with my blood sugar dropping, I'll have to get some food in me before I can make any sense. But I had a lot of fun, and thanks, Iggy, so much for asking me to come on.
Absolutely. And one more time, give everybody your website real quick and the next event you're going to be doing.
Awesome. Okay. So it's Dawn, DAWN -Thompson.com. And my next event is in Yellow Springs, Ohio, which you can find all the information on the houseofom.com. And that's a sweet yoga studio where I'll be doing a series of workshops that I mentioned earlier.
Very good. Thank you, Dawn.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Being on here.
Much love.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye. And Dawn will be on the air next week at noon on Wednesday. So tune in for that in February. But, yeah. So, Heidi, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Oh, I think just that, I just want to leave them with, there's so much importance in creating joy. I think one of the things that was great about this call tonight is that we created so much joy in, laughter, and kind of came as we are. I think that's one of the most important things, is that we're always trying to get it right. You know what I mean? Like we're in this culture where it's like, I want to get it right, I want to do it right, I want to be perfect. I want to do it all by myself, and we're very serious, we're very linear, we're very, driven, this manifest destiny thing. And I think that creates an environment where also it's not okay to not know, or it's not okay to just come as you are, imperfect, or a little bit hungry, or a little bit, it's like we're constantly having to show up and get an A, and if you don't get an A, you're not not making an honor roll. Like everyone deserves to be honored, no matter where they're at. Everybody gets to be on the honor roll. Like we're all doing our best, is what I think. And so I think, as long as people are creating joy and bringing soul into their lives, that's a big thing for me. Are you soulfully embodied, and are you living with your vital essence? Are you doing what you love? Are you actively being love? That's a really big thing for me, and I think that's a huge part of healing as well. So, I hope people will get off the call and go watch some funny memes or something and get a good laugh or get a dance in, or maybe sing a song, sing a lullaby to your husband or your wife, or, just be soulful. And I think that's going to make a big difference in your life and in creating a healing space in your life.
Awesome.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Okay, where can people find you? What's your next event?
My next event, I'm teaching Intro to Shamanic Journeying at the Reiki Center on Friday evening. And I'm also, if anyone is interested, I'm also doing the School of the Modern Shaman, Level 1, which is a self-healing journey of about the 3 8-hour classes, and we have one this Saturday starting. So it's 10 to 6 on Saturday at the Reiki Center. That's the 3rd. So I have a class Friday night and a class Saturday all day, and we're doing soul retrieval, power, animal retrieval, and a couple other things on that day. So it's a big day of healing and awakening, really. So awakening to your own healing power. And that's what's coming up for me. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, well, you're going to be on my video, too, because this whole documentary is actually going to be filmed on my cell phone. I'm going to do it kind of like, it's going to be a cell phone documentary, which is going to be really cool, the way it's going to be done. So hopefully I can get an interview with you, a live interview.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being on the air with us. You and Don were amazing. I'm really glad you got to share your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions about the topic. I know because it's close at hand with the work you do. But let's keep in touch and let's keep plugging on.
All right. Thanks,
Heidi. You're welcome. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Well, that's Heidi Howells. She was my friend. She was here on the With Insights Radio, Iggy Garcia Live, and Don Thompson. They were both local practitioners here, shaman practitioners, intuitive practitioners, healers, facilitators, bringing in energy. And they were sharing their thoughts with me today a little bit about the work they did, and plus the spontaneous aspects of healing and self-healing. And that's what our show was about today. We were just kind of covering and trying to figure out, why do people heal and why don't other people heal? And it's a mixed bag. It could be anything. Don talked about some of us have a lineage of things that, happen, through our ancestors. And so through what happens to our ancestors is that stuff keeps getting passed down until one brave soul eventually decides to say, well, I'm going to heal all of those ancestors, because that's basically what happens. And she kind of described about, different things that were going on in her body and her life and how she, worked through it. And Heidi also talked a little bit about, just the aspects of healing and, the things that we can get from it and why people don't heal. She talked about her dad, how she sent him energy. And, just the power of energy and the power of belief and the power of intention can be so strong. And sometimes if we're not invited into that space, we can create a lot of healing, but we can also create I don't want to use the word havoc, because I don't think havoc is the right word to use. I think we can create a lot of confusion, maybe. Confusion is a little bit better, because with confusion you can at least clear it, but havoc is like something that completely moves everything out. So what happens is, we send energy to somebody who doesn't expect it, then all of a sudden they start doing it. They snap into a place where they're capable to move, and then all of a sudden the belief systems that they had before kind of challenge what's going on. Oh, I can't be, this is not me, blah, blah, blah. And then you find yourself in a situation that you weren't really trying to be in. But, I find that with a lot of healers, sometimes they would just send energy without somebody asking. And, maybe there's a higher plane of asking. Maybe there's a place where we don't have to speak and talk. But there are people who just like to throw it around, and we have to be careful with that sometimes as healers. That, sometimes we have to say, hey, to that person that's in front of us, because maybe they don't speak the language. Maybe they don't understand what we're trying to do and what our purpose is. And, Heidi gave an example how she wanted to send energy to her dad to do a soul retrieval, and he was totally against it. And that's what we're going to find. Sometimes our family is the ones who are the most difficult to work with, because they know us. They know our ins and outs. They know it's because they have judgment against us. They have, predetermined judgments on us and how they seen us and how we grew up with them, how they raised us, parents, brothers and sisters. They see us as the person that they create and project on their mind. And so when they see you, you're nothing special. You're just a brother or sister, and that's special. But what I'm talking about, when you start doing this work and you start becoming more in line with your gifts, they don't see you sometimes as the healer. They don't see you as the facilitator. They don't see you as the shaman. They don't see you as the drum guy, or the singing bowl person, or they see you as the person that they either were kicked around by when you were younger, or they see you as the person that they kicked around, or they just see you as brother and sister. So you're not anything spectacular to them. So you can run into those areas. So when we move into this space right now where we are now as human beings, we all go through this. We all have a predetermined judgment by the people who are around us. They love us, they care about us, but it happens. And, it's not either wrong or right. It just is. It's how we respond and how we react to it. Are we going to move into that space where we're actually able to understand that they don't get me? It's kind of like when Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know. That kind of a statement. I forgive them because, what? They don't know any better. They think they know me. It's kind of like when they're looking in a garden. Some people see flowers and some people see weeds. It depends what you're looking at. And that happens a lot in families. A lot. It happens in my family. I don't know if it happens to you. Maybe you're fortunate. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones who doesn't get judged like that. But they go, oh, I know Iggy. He's just like this. It's because we have spheres of influence upon other people, and other people have sphere of influence upon us. And it's just the way. But as you progress and as you level up, as you move forward, you're able to gain that wisdom and that knowledge and know how to navigate those waters. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. And sometimes, we have to fight our own judgments of how we project upon our own family, because we remember also how they treated us and how they loved us or how they didn't love us. But regardless, neither here nor there, but it's important. So when we work on the process of self-healing, the aspects and parts of ourselves, we're really delving into our mind and going, so why am I worthy of healing? Why am I allowed to heal? Why doesn't that person heal? Because we have loyalty issues. Sometimes we feel like we have to be martyr and that other people are more deserving than us to heal. There are people, there was an old test they used to do years ago where they would talk about a scenario of a sinking ship. And they had 4 life rafts, and all the life rafts were full except one life raft. They had room for one person. There was 2 people left on the boat. So you had to make the decision. Did you take the space, or did you give the space to somebody else? Well, 80% of the people, and this is 80%, which is kind of high, gave that spot to another human being versus taking the spot for themselves. So imagine that. We live in a martyristic society sometimes where we think that we should, sacrifice our well-being in order for someone else to survive and somebody else to live. So how many times do we do that in our lives? And how many times do we actually, say, I'm going to jump on the boat this time. This time I want to survive. This time I want to live. This time, nothing against you. And it's not being selfish. It's actually empowering who you are and what you're going to do and why you're in that space. For many of us, we were raised that we have to volunteer, we have to help and do stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when we're without and when we're lacking, sometimes we don't tell anybody. We don't share. We don't, because it's too embarrassing. We shouldn't be this way because, I've worked so hard, but it has nothing to work hard. So ask yourself, are you a martyr? Are you a savior, a victim? So at what time, at what point in your life is healing important for you when you feel like you're healing? Most of us are pretty healthy. Most of us have had some kind of ailment, something that's happened to us, some type of surgery. But for a lot of us, it hasn't. So why do some people heal? Why do some people move into the space of accepting the energy, the love that we deserve, and others, they say it, but they don't receive it. And then the others just don't care. And then why is it that some people who don't even care seem to heal? It's kind of interesting. And these are the topics I'm going to be covering in the documentary that I'm creating about self-healing, spontaneous healing, just healing in love in general. But, it is important to know that we all will die from this timeline. We will die. We will move into the next existence. But while we're here, how can we experience it? How can we embrace it? How can we love it? How can we live a life that's, fruitful for us? Well, a lot of it, starts here in our belief systems of what we think about ourselves, or if we're worthy enough. Are we worthy enough for the healing? Why should we heal when others are suffering? But sometimes we have to take our own empowerment. We have to take power into our own hands and say, well, you know what? Damn it. I have the right to live too. I have the right to live better. I have the right to move into spaces where, I'm healthy. I'm not feeling challenged. And, it's not an easy topic to talk about because some of us and many of us have lost family members, loved ones. And, they gave a good battle and they gave a good fight. And we see that. But in the deep crevices of our mind, there are things that creep in there and they keep us from moving forward. Unfortunately, it's not always comfortable to talk about healing. It's not always comfortable talking about spontaneous thing when other people didn't make it, when other people aren't able to. But know this, that, love transcends time and space. Love is one of those things that, that we can give ourselves and give others. And I think that's what's important about when we talk about the healing process, to know that we're loved in the process. And I think that's part of it too, that some people just don't have the love connection. And if they do, it's not enough. And, as human beings, we do our best to, give unconditional love. But some of us don't know what unconditional love means, to give love, to love somebody unconditionally, without any conditions. And to be able to just accept that. And some of us have a hard time accepting love because we misconstrue it in what it is and what it means. It's not something that we just can't, it's not a tangible thing. It's a whole bunch of things. It's feelings, emotions, chemistry, all kinds of things that roll through our body. So when we're healing, we're constantly healing. Our body is constantly working. Our body's constantly reconstructing us, constantly making us. One of the only muscles and one of the only things that doesn't really change, and it's one of the life sources of our body, is our heart. The heart that we have today is the heart that we die with. It doesn't change a whole lot from where it's at. Everything else changes, but if it does change in our heart, it's very slow. And for many people, they say that's like another brain. That's another thing. And then it's amazing about the brain. I mean, I can go on hours and hours, but the brain can rewire itself. If you've had a traumatic injury, you can rewire, the path, the neurons, and the paths of how it works. We only use 5 to 10% of our brain, they say, and that's amazing, totally amazing about our head. So those of you who are interested in being in the documentary, I'm starting to take names and numbers and down. I'm going to contact people. This is a slow process because it's not something I want to rush. And it's something that needs to be done, needs to be talked about. And it has been talked about. But, it's just another way of expressing the love that I feel in my heart and the love that others feel about what the work they do. So with that, I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. It's been a pleasure to have Heidi Howells and Don Thompson on the show and sharing their insights with us. That's why our show's called With Insights Radio, because we share. We share. And, all of you know how to get a hold of me and get in contact with me. So this show will be on Blog Talk Radio, and we'll be sharing. And those of you who are medicine people, medicine men, I'd like to talk to you. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can send me a message, or you can send me an email to iggygarcia@gmail.com, or just go to my website, iggygarcia.com, and get a hold of me. And we'll work on that. We'll get together, and we'll talk a little bit. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you guys probably next week with episode 39, and we'll talk a little bit more and see what's going on in our worlds, what's happening. It's always fun to be here on the live stream and on Blog Talk Radio, sharing with you guys. Peace and love. Oho, ho'oponopono, irisikwi. All love. Be well, my friends. Take care. Have a great, great, great evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.